Morning, everyone, and welcome to our city council meeting this December 2nd. Madam Deputy Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mr. Foyce? Mrs. Klein?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mrs. Jewin?
Here.
All right, thank you. If you would please now join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Mr. Schmidt, would you take over on the pledge?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just have a moment, appreciate this opportunity. You know, 12 years ago when you and I got on the council, there was beginning to be a change in the face of Waterloo. And in those 12 years, we've had a great influx of Hispanics, Congolese. Last week, we had some Liberians here, and then also the Burmese community. And I like to think that they are this century's version of the Italians and the German and the Irish and the African-American that came before them. So I've invited John Lazoom and all the Burmese kids and some of their parents from Sacred Heart and St. Ed's and the Waterloo Community Schools, I think somewhat too, to join us tonight and lead us in the pledge. So, John, ball's in your court. Right up there, that microphone right up there. Mark, can you help him? There you go. Well, as many can get around it, but yeah.
If you two want to shift over a little bit, not that we don't enjoy seeing your smiley face, you can come forward.
Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda as presented and the minutes of the December 2nd, 2019 regular session.
Second.
All right, well, why don't we just wait a quick second?
Yeah. How nice.
All right, that motion has been
geez.
made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. The first up on here, we have Mr. Todd Oberdahl that would like to address the council and mayor on transparency.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Todd Oberdahl, 124 Amity Drive. On October 9th, there's an item on the agenda that had to do with the payout of accrued benefits for former wastewater director Steve Homebrecker. I had noticed at that time that it had said that his employment was ending on September 19th, thinking that was an error because it had been published in the newspaper that he had received a termination notice on June 21st. I inquired as to if any of those benefits that were being approved by the council at that time were benefits that had accrued between June 21st and September 19th. In that meeting, our Human Resources Director stood up and assured us that none of those benefits were anything that had been acquired after June 21st, the time of his termination. In a deposition on November 19th of this year in a suit that involves the city, Mr. Homebrecker was deposed and he was asked these questions. The question is by the opposing attorney. My understanding is that you are no longer employed by the city of Waterloo. Is that correct? Answer, that is correct. Question, and when was your job terminated, or when did you leave your job? Answer, last day of pay was at the end of September. Of what year? Answer, this year, 2019. Question, When did you actually stop functioning at your job or working at your job then? Answer, mid-May. Question, did you have some type of salary continuation plan then when you left? Answer, yes. Was this something that you worked out with the city? Answer, yes. I've gone back through the agendas, and I haven't seen anything where there was anything to do with a salary continuation for our former director that was approved by the city council. I think this is something that is very, very troubling. In his termination letter, so one of the reasons that was given for him being let go and the need for him to being let go is because he threatened to sing if he didn't get his desired compensation for leaving the city. Well, he's got paid through September 19th, and as far as I know, nobody knew about this. Nobody knew about this. It didn't go through the approval process. I haven't seen anything that was specifically talking about an employee payout as far as an executive session has gone. So I'm left wondering is why this payout was made over a period of time, given the fact that he wasn't performing any duties, and that one of the reasons he was being let go was because he was trying to get a favorable severance package. Question that pops to mind is what could possibly wanted to sing about. We just had a valve that was placed in over at a sewer line over on 8th and Lock. The people over there, it's considered a hot spot. They get flooded quite a bit over there. And a valve was put in. The question was, what good is a valve? What's a valve going to do? It was found out that that line going under the creek over at 8th and Lock was listed in city records as being obstructed with debris, grease. That's how we had submitted it to the EPA. And I would like to thank Jamie Knutson for speaking with me earlier this afternoon and showing me the plats and explaining what was documented in the plats. And it seems like that there isn't any documentation as to when this pipe was plugged with cement. The city had cemented over this plug that would alleviate overflow in the storm sewer in an area that is repeatedly flooding. For a citizen that lives over on West 8th Street who had filed a claim against the city, and the insurance company responded that there are no obstructions in the sanitary sewer. We do not believe the city could have prevented the backup and is therefore not legally liable for the loss. I see on the documentation that was over at the engineering department that backup was known from May 16th of 2017 when cameras were put through. So it was at least that time it had been known of at that time. There's just a marking on there as being plugged without a date on that. This claim was from October of 2018. It was denied on January 21st, 2019. So for some reason, the city decided to plug off the relief that would have relieved this area at 8th and Lock that is a hot spot. As far as I know, there aren't anybody that are of specific significance as far as movers and shakers go in the city in that neighborhood. Word is that if they, by blocking that off, that kept excess water and sewage and backups from happening on the other side of the creek. Maybe those people were more important. Maybe it was more important for other people not to have their basements flooded if they lived closer to a country club or a golf course. Maybe just the people that are just working class people trying to make ends meet and have seen their houses depreciate by over 50% within 2 years aren't as important. This letter from the insurance company would not have been written simply by the knowledge of the insurance company. It would have been in consultation with the city of Waterloo. The city of Waterloo told the insurance company there was nothing that could be done. There was nothing that was obstructing. There was an obstruction, and the obstruction wasn't placed by gremlins, it wasn't placed by vandals, it was placed at some time by the city, and the city had known about it and still told the insurance company that there was nothing that the city could do. Now we've placed a valve in there, and I'm told that that cap has been cut off, so water can go through that and access 9th Street, and it will be at a much higher rate than throwing pumps into the creek there. My question is, thank you. Who approved the payout to Steve Homebrecker? What body did that? Why was he on for that length of time? And if someone can offer a further question as to, answer to the question as when that pipe on Lock Street was plugged with cement, what year that was, I very much appreciate that. The people of our city deserve equal protection. Each resident's home is as important as anyone else's, and we shouldn't be playing favorites with who gets flooded and who does not. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Oberdahl. All right, is there anyone else that would like to address the council and mayor?
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. Jim Chapman, 224 Birch. I wonder if I could get a little update on the apartments over there behind the old Hy-Vee. Is that thing completed? I went by there today and I see they got the post boxes, I believe, on the corner of Knox and Palmer. And you got people that live 2 blocks away from there, which are elderly people that's going to have to walk to the mailboxes. And when the weather gets bad, I guess they're going to have a problem then. Are we going to address that problem too, or is the post office going to address that problem? Or I guess we got people that have a hard time walking now, not alone getting to the mailboxes, Mayor. So it's quite a ways from some of those people. So is this thing settled, or?
I don't know if it's settled. We reached out to the postmaster or the post. Have we even connected with them yet?
Martin Peterson, Legal Department. I placed a phone call to an area supervisor and was told that somebody would be calling me. I was not told who would be calling me or when they would be calling me, but I was told that I was going to receive a phone call from the Postal Service, and I have not as of today.
So we reached out to the post office, which you know, of course, is federal, which you know, they have the responsibility for the mail. We've reached out and still have not heard back from them yet, but we'll follow up tomorrow to see if we can try to find some type of resolution. Received a number of calls, messages from people that are concerned about it as well, and
Yeah,
we will continue to do that.
Excuse me, Mayor. I talked to some other postman delivery people, and we got more problems in this town than just that area. It's getting darker now earlier, and they're scared to go into a lot of places, you know, at night. Is this gonna be like a tumbleweed and start growing, and we're going to?
Well, one of the things we had to take a look at last week, someone had indicated something about a sexual assault or something that happened. If that happened, they never reported it to our police department because we have no record on file for some of the things that we heard last week. When you take a look at overall calls to a particular area, this area probably ranks 14th with the amount of calls that go to that particular area, which is still not a good thing, but we got some challenges there. We met last week to try to start the process to see what we can do to try to help our neighbors in that particular area. So we're still working on that, but we need to have a conversation with the post office so we can at least deal with that particular issue right now. And so that's where we're at. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we griped about that apartments 30 years ago, Mayor.
I wasn't in office then. I am now, so that's why we're working on it.
David Dryer, 3145 West 4th Street, Mayor and Council. I appreciate the many mayors that are going to come to this town, the article I saw in the paper. My concern, I guess, is, again, watching my pocketbook, our budget, and wondering how much that's going to cost the city. The folks, the campaign people that are coming in, do they have any financial responsibility to carry some of the extra overtime it's going to cost for the police department or fire and rescue or whatever? Because when any party comes to town on a big campaign thing like that, I feel that they should pick up some of that responsibility so that it doesn't just fall on the citizens. I know when they have the Macy's Day Parade and all of that, I don't know who pays some extra to the police department there, or the cleanup after that kind of a party. But to me, it's gonna cost more money for the citizens of Waterloo if we have to pick up that entire tab. I think those parties that are involved should pick up take some of their campaign funds and help offset the cost for our city. Also, I went down to the recycle center on 11th Street the other day, and when I got the mailing about the new containers available, there was a pamphlet in there that said that there was no styrofoam to be put in that recycle that's by the curb. However, I saw an individual take looked like a large item that comes in a styrofoam packed, and I mentioned to them that they shouldn't put that in there, that is garbage, it's not recyclable. To the young man that was there, he walked around the dumpster, his dad came back with the stuff and stuck it in the dumpster anyway. So if there's a camera down there on 11th Street, we should see who that was, and because we're trying to be responsible recyclers, everybody should be. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With regards to the mayors that will be here, they're not staying in campers. They're staying in hotel rooms. Any type of amenities, from shopping to food to working with small businesses, those groups are doing all of that stuff local. So they're going to add to the economy. As far as security, I don't know. But they're going to add to the economy, and there are people that are going to benefit taxpayers here within our community. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment?
Cheryl Christensen, 1702 East Mitchell. In regard to the mailboxes that the people are not receiving their mail, a friend who spoke here last week received an item in her mailbox this week from the post office that said which number her box would be a block or so away from where her home is. Now, if this is such a violent and dangerous neighborhood, they could have given it to her when she picked up her mail at the post office. So that's just another item of information you need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Christensen. All right, is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Going a second time. Council, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I enjoy listening to our citizens as they come up to the microphone. I think that they have questions that they want to have answered, and we do our best to answer them in a timely fashion, and I have no problem with that at all. But where I part company is when someone asks a question and then throws in some prejudicial remarks as well, such as someone's income will make any of us pay closer attention to their needs than a person with lesser income. That's just absolutely not true. It's false, completely false. The city is like any other thing in the world. We do really good things, and once in a while we make a mistake. We address our mistakes, we move on. But nobody that I have met since I was elected 2 years ago, nobody that I've met here, whether it's the person mopping the floor or the mayor or anyone in between those positions, no one has indicated to me by behavior or by discussion or by overheard remark that wealthy people or people who live in specific neighborhoods are better than, more important than, or should receive more from us than the average citizen. It's just not true. These are good folks up here trying to do a good job. But guess what? They're human beings. We are all, and even you who come up to the microphone, going to make the occasional mistake.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay, motion to close the hearing, receive comments, and place on file.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The presentations are closed.
Okay, motion to accept the consent agenda with the addition to item 1A1, bills payment in the amount of $841,254.03. Receive, approve, and place on file.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Could someone take 2, 3, and 4, please? Or 2 and 3, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, item number 2 is adopting a resolution approving award of bid to Boulder Contracting LLC of Grundy Center, Iowa, in the amount of $136,315.75, and approving the contract bond certificate of insurance in conjunction with the fiscal year 2020 riprap repairs along the levee system, contract number 999, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. Item number 2 is adopting a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Strand Associates, Inc. of Madison, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $1,485,000 in conjunction with bidding and construction-related services for the wastewater treatment plant fiscal year 2020 biosolids modifications, and authorizing the mayor to execute said document.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Hey, that 1.485, that's a lot of money. You just want to mention a little bit what this is related to and how important this is to the city and to our future.
Randy Bennett, Public Works Division Manager. As far as what the contractor's portion is, that's just kind of the oversight, actually, of the project itself and the construction inspections of that. But as far as what it's actually pertaining to is the biosolids project itself, handling a lot of the solids. We have a lot of antiquated equipment. We have a bottleneck that's actually at the plant that it's going to kind of correct part of that. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, what we're looking at is the cake material that comes out, that the dryer that we can make that material. It saves the city money when we go to land apply that afterwards. So there's a lot of different facets that are taking place into this project, but well needed.
Is this part of the consent?
Yes,
decree then?
yep.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on 2 or 3? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Can someone take 4 and 5?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Amos?
Number 4 is a resolution approving award of bid to Boomerang Corporation of Anamosa, Iowa, and an amount of $4,267,662, and approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance in conjunction with the Dry Run Creek Interceptor, contract number 877, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. Number 5 is a resolution authorizing the transfer of $64,250 from Fund 010, General Fund, to Fund 101, Tax Increment Financing Fund, to reimburse the TIF fund for eligible contract expenses effective June 30th, 2019. Second.
All right, that motion has been made with the second. Questions on these 2 items? Madam Deputy Clerk?
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewin?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Foyce?
Yes.
Good, everybody? All right, is that it? Number 6, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Amos?
Number 6 is a motion approving change order number 1 for a net increase of $1,800 in conjunction with the demolition services at 326 Crescent Place, and authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. Second.
That motion has been made with the second. No, that's $1,800. Can you elaborate on $1,800?
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. We did a demolition project. We did research the tap records that typically indicate the location of the sewer lines for the nearby houses. There was no tap record for 330 Crescent Place, which was a neighboring property. So when we demolished the house, apparently it had a shared sewer line. So this is a reimbursement for the demolition contractor to go back in there and make that reconnection for the adjacent house. and it's also to reimburse the homeowner next door for some plumbing costs he had, because obviously we were not fully aware of it at first, and he had to call a plumber because all of a sudden his plumbing was not working.
So you messed up and you're fixing it.
Exactly.
It's all public record. Madam Deputy Clerk, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion been made with second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.